Alright, so the last type of loop we're going to talk about, this is the do-while loop, and Python itself does not have an interface for this. Usually in a language that does support it, like C++, it's going to look something like do, then you have opening and closing braces, and then you have some stuff. And this is what it looks like in C++. Notice some of the difference in syntax. However, this is not going to do anything in Python, as you could tell by the complete lack of a color change. So, what does a do-while loop look like in Python? Well, we saw it in the PowerPoint slides. It's an infinite loop with a terminating condition inside the loop. So, let's do something to that effect. We're going to just have the user repeatedly input names. We're not going to do anything with the names. We'll use this code to do that later on when we start talking about lists, which is going to be next week, I believe. But this is what it's going to look like. So we have a while true, colon. Normally this is bad, but you may find situations where you need a while true. So what we're going to do is name equals input. Enter a name. It will be echoed back. Now let's say printed. Printed back in all caps. Alright, so now we've got our name and we want to print name.upper. Now, let's add a terminating condition here. We need to explain this to our user. Let's change this up a little bit. So we're going to do this. We're going to move this into a print. Print. This code, whoops, capitalize. This code will print names in all caps. Enter a Q to quit. Okay, so then we have enter a name. It's going to print name.upper. That's the simple thing, but this doesn't have a terminating condition. So let's give it one. If if name.upper equals Q colon break. Now, syntax here can vary from one person to another. I like to leave this as it is. You might want to enter it like this, else we print it back. And now, why is it moved out an extra? Is it moved out an extra space? No, it's not. There we go. Fixed. So, let's take this code one bit at a time. So, while true, this loop will always execute. There's no way that you can break out of this from here. We have a way to do it, though. We print an explanation of what the code does. This code will print names in all caps, enter a Q to quit. And because we're doing name.upper, you can enter a lowercase or uppercase q. Then we say name equals input, enter a name. Now, this is where we check for our exit condition. So if name.upper equals q, we break. Break says, okay, inside of our containing loop or function or whatever, we want to leave. We just completely stop, don't care anymore, we're done, let's leave. So if we hit this break, we're going to exit this while loop. Otherwise, we print name.upper. And then we go on. So, this is how you do a do-while loop. A do-while loop is the same as a while loop, but with two differences. Number one, you check the condition during or after iteration. Number two, a do-while loop is guaranteed to execute at least once. A while loop can execute 0 times. A do-while loop will always execute once. So let's see this in use. Going to go into our command prompt. We're going to CLS, and it's going to give us this information. We could probably have moved this explanation outside the loop. We'll do that in a moment, because we'll see why having it inside the loop is not great. So let's say Scarlet prints it all out in all caps, and you see it prints the description of the code again. We don't need that more than once. James, Rachel. We keep doing this, and we keep giving it information. It's going to keep passing it through an upper function and printing it. Now, we type a Q, and we're done. Now, let's fix our code a little bit. So we only need the explanation here once. Let's cut this, paste it, and fix our indent. Let's run it again. This code will print names in all caps. We see this once, so let's do it again. Scarlet, Dadzia, James, Rachel, Sylvia. It'll keep doing this until we type a lowercase or uppercase q. Last time we did a lowercase, let's do an uppercase, and it exits. And so, that is what a do-while loop is going to look like in Python. It's not very common that you're going to need this compared to the other two loops, but it is good to know how to do it in the event that you want code that is definitely going to run at least once, and you know you don't want it to run 0 times. So, that's it for loops. In class, of course, we're going to do more examples, we're going to do code challenges and all that good stuff. But here, this is pretty much all we need for the time being. So next time, we're going to be looking at lists and dictionaries, as well as other collection types in Python. We've already done a few things with lists, but we're going to flesh out our knowledge of them a little bit more. We're going to learn some other useful functions. We're going to learn how to use them in a more robust fashion. So, stay tuned for that.